Russian tennis players are definitely taking to the courts. They're playing on court in the French Open this week. By contrast, they will not be welcome at Wimbledon.
Yes, the ban on them there has led the sport's governing bodies to strip Wimbledon of ranking points. So it is now little more than an exhibition event.
Well, we're joined now by Andrew Castle, obviously former British #1, who believes that we do need to ban Russian athletes to send a clear message to Putin, and also by badminton Olympic silver medalist Gail Ems, who really thinks that sports and politics should not mix and we shouldn't be taking it out on the Russian players in order to get at Putin. So we'll come to that point of view in a second. But Andrew, you do think that Wimbledon is paying a price for doing the right thing, yeah?
Well, I mean, I think we should start by saying that there is no perfect solution to this situation as we all watch on in horror at what is being perpetrated in the name of the Russian people by their president. There is no desire to punish Andrei Rublev, Arina Sabalenka, because it's a Belarusian ban as well as a Russian ban, and particularly Daniil Medvedev, who now will become world #1 most likely in a supreme irony. The Russian player, because Novak Djokovic will now not have a chance to defend his ranking points at Wimbledon. So there is no perfect solution. But, you know, once you sit down and you talk to people, and we have refugees from Mariupol in our home, and I sat down with Yulia, is her name, she's a lawyer, and I said, well, what do you think about this? And she said, well, it's unfair on the players, but how else do you get the message to the Russian people about what is being done on their behalf and in their name? Because 30 miles away, Yulia's got friends and she speaks to them on WhatsApp, educated friends, worldly friends who do not know what's going on 30 miles away in Mariupol, where they estimate, 600 women and children are in the basement.
OK, so if the thinking behind this...
These are the issues.
All right, so if the thinking behind this then, as you say, is to send a message over Putin's head to the Russian people to make them think, hang on, why aren't we being allowed to play at one of the most prestigious tennis tournaments on the planet anymore? What's happening? But aren't they simply going to see that as part of the wider conspiracy of the West against Russia? And whatever Putin tells them about the reasons for their players not being allowed to play at Wimbledon, they'll swallow it.
Look, things can always be used as propaganda if they're presented in such a way. And no doubt Vladimir Putin and his acolytes will present whatever the West does, whatever sporting bodies or businesses or government, creative industries, services industries, McDonald's are coming out and closing the shops and saying, you know, whatever happens, it's going to be, look, they hate us. This is exactly what I said would happen. This is a furtherance of the power, the expansionism of NATO. He can say whatever he wants to say, but the truth is that the Russian people do not know what is going on and what is being done in their name. And we, at this time in the morning, don't have to name every incident, but there will be war crimes tribunals after this. I just think at this point, this is beyond the pale and the message must be sent very, very clearly. And unfortunately, for 1 year and one tournament, let's be honest, and perhaps the LTA tournaments as well, but that's a slightly separate matter, we need to send this message. Maybe somebody somewhere said, well, why isn't Daniil Medvedev playing at Wimbledon?
Yeah, Gail Ems?
Oh, it's so complicated, isn't it? But as a sports point of view, you know, you're playing against, for you, you know, it's me versus you if we were on court against each other, Susanna. It's us. And it's not a national team representative. This is you as your sports, your love, your passion for it. In the Olympics, the Russian athletes who were involved with the whole doping scandal had the opportunity to compete under a neutral flag. So where is the opportunity for Wimbledon to say, obviously, if you... to show that sport and politics should not mix. Unfortunately, it does, and there are many cases in history that it does mix. How about giving that flag of opportunity for an athlete to say, OK, I want to be a neutral in this? Because it's not down to that athlete. You know, it's kind of common sense. The Russian national team, for instance, in football, I get it, it's a representative of Russia. But you as a person, as an athlete, it's you. You know, where do we draw the line? Do we draw the line at, you know, people working from Russia in different countries?
I think that, but Gail makes an important point, Andrew. Where do we draw the line? Because Daniil Medvedev has spoken out against the Wimbledon ban, calls it illegal. He says self-employed Russians have the right to work. So if I have the opportunity to play at Wimbledon, I would be delighted. I mean, Andrew, should we stop all Russians working in the UK? Because that's the sort of logical extension of this. You're Russian, and therefore you can't compete, you can't work. That looks a lot like discrimination against people simply because of their nationality.
And guess what? It is. And that is the problem, which is why I started this by saying that there is no perfect solution. The difference is that somebody who works for, say, an accountancy firm who is Russian and who lives in, let's say, London, that person is not going to be held up as a great example of the Russian spirit and used as a propaganda tool if they do well, if they have a great day or month or week at work. They're not going to be held up. Putin has surrounded himself with sports people in the past who have done well. Why do you think he spent 50 billion quid making sure the Winter Olympics came to his part of the world, and he backed that in Sochi? Also, the state-sponsored sporting doping scandal that Russia have been a part of for many, many years. Putin sanctioned that directly, no doubt.
Right. Can we just come back to Gail here? Be honest, wouldn't you feel uncomfortable watching a Russian player on centre court at Wimbledon, given that the Russian government is basically behaving in a Nazi manner and Russian soldiers are behaving like the SS in Ukraine? Wouldn't it be awkward and strange to see us applauding a Russian player in those circumstances?
No. Only because I know sport. If I've competed, I've competed around the world with various different, nationalities and situations going on in the world. It's me versus that person. It is not my country versus that country. In an individual sport, it's different if when I mentioned like the Russian national football team, for instance, I think that is awkward.
But what Andrew's saying is that, of course, Putin could weaponise, for propaganda purposes, the success of Russian individuals in these competitions.
That's why the neutral flag could be really a good key point here, like the ISD.
Does that make any difference, do you think?
Well, if Medvedev competes under a neutral flag, could therefore Putin then say, oh, well, it's not actually representing Russia. You give a choice to that athlete to say, for this tournament, it's not Russia.
And Andrew, finally, what does it do to the status of Wimbledon that it effectively means that, there's no impact on rankings, it becomes effectively an exhibition tournament?
Well, the impact on the rankings is that the points that everybody earned last year are just going to fall off the computer. It works on a rolling one-year basis. So a lot of people are going to fall way down the rankings and there's nothing they can do about it. Now, the players have not been consulted enough by their governing bodies. I do not believe the ATP and the WTA have represented their membership in a correct way here. I don't think many of the players realised that those points were just going to drop off. I don't see Wimbledon as just an exhibition event, although, of course, this causes a big rift in the game. I think this has been the right moment to take a moral stance and to show integrity. And I'm afraid if I was a partner or a sponsor of the governing bodies of men's or women's tennis, I would now be asking myself the question whether I wanted to be associated with that. No doubt they'll be gauging their response. But no doubt this is a rift. I'll still be watching Wimbledon and talking about it and enjoying it, and I hope not many people pull out. We have to send this message.
Andy, thank you very much indeed. Gail, thank you.
We've had a lot of feedback on this. Charlotte on Twitter says, I've got tickets for Wimbledon. I am totally against this ban, as tennis players do not start wars or fight in them. Daffy back on Twitter says, Wimbledon is right to ban it and should stand firm because Russian players should simply accept it. So it's pretty much split, 50-50.